Good morning, everybody. This is Pamela getting on here to talk to you guys for a little bit this morning. I know I should have been updating you the minute on this situation that they have with Wendy Williams and any other news bits that have happened over the past week, but I've been kind of tending to myself the last couple of days. So, yeah, it's important that you keep your mental checks in check. You don't want to be on YouTube all the time because it'll drive you crazy with some of the latest news that is happening. I want to start off by talking about Miss Wendy Williams. You know, the Wendy Williams show that just went off the air about a year ago, if not more than that. People know her as a TV morning host that did a lot of trash talk on her show. She tore a lot of people down and pissed a lot of people off. And I always thought she was kind of a stuck up woman, okay? I'm being honest here. Um, she was often very nasty and bitching about other people's problems when she couldn't even handle her own crap. Now I hear she has frontal temporal dementia. You know, the same thing that Bruce Willis has. And I hear there's some sort of documentary coming out on Lifetime. You know, Lifetime Network that tried to exploit people like Dan Brophy. Remember? Yeah. I call Lifetime trash TV. And if what they're saying is true, that they're keeping Wendy from her family, it's wrong, it's stupid, and it's like what happened with Britney Spears. You know, you have certain people, dirty people, that are guardians for Wendy. You know, I should feel sorry for Wendy, but I don't. For the simple fact that she's done a lot of people bad over the years. And you don't treat people nice on the way up, they're not going to treat you nice on the way down. Um, just like Ellen DeGeneres. You know, the one that always says, be kind, but in reality, she was another bitch that got her butt handed to her when her show ended. Yeah. Remember when COVID hit? How Ellen was complaining that she was sitting in her $1 million mansion, not being able to go anywhere? Again, that's another person that did a lot of people wrong. I'm not going to mourn for people like that. But Wendy Williams, the supposed queen of trash talk, has frontal temporal dementia. She doesn't, she's starting to have memory problems. They ran a battery of tests on her. And let's see. Let me look up Wendy Williams here. You know, I I just heard the news last night. Oh, come on. Okay. Pull up Wendy Williams. And we are going to see. Yeah, because it says she was diagnosed with aphasia and dementia. Same exact thing that Bruce Willis has. And she is almost 60 years old. So, yeah, let's see here. USA Today, let's go with that. Since we're on a news cycle here. They say she was diagnosed with frontal temporal dementia and aphasia. And they call her a daytime talk show legend. Has been diagnosed with dementia and aphasia. Last year, Williams, who was 59, was diagnosed with primary progressive aphasia, and frontal temporal dementia, according to a Thursday press release from her representatives. And they said Wendy would not have received confirmation of the diagnosis if not for the diligence of her current care team. I mean, anybody who cares about this woman would do whatever they could to get the answers that they are looking for. But, they say she would not have gotten the confirmation of the diagnosis if not for the diligence of her current care team. They claim she chose, in the extraordinary work of the specialist at Weill Cornell Medicine, receiving a diagnosis that has enabled Wendy to receive the medical care she requires. In a follow-up statement to USA Today, Williams' reps added she is able to do many things herself. She was involved in choosing the members of her care team. She was involved with and approved the statement, which was released this morning. And they said there's a documentary coming out, and there's a quip, and it says, Wendy Williams says she has no money. News of this diagnosis comes a day after People's cover story detailed the first public comments from her brother and sister and niece on the talk show host's personal journey over the past few years. We've seen all the images in the last months and really few years of what has seemed like a spiral of my aunt, Williams' niece and Miami news anchor Alex Finney said. It was shocking and heartbreaking to see her in this state. According to the People article, Williams now resides in an undisclosed care facility. Her sister, Wanda, says that Williams can call the family, but they cannot call her themselves. And they don't know where she's housed. It sounds a lot like somebody trying to keep the family from her. She could talk to the family, but they can't call her. It just seems very sus to me. It kind of sounds like Casey Kasem. I'm sure you remember that case, where his monger of a wife tried to keep his children away from him. And because of that, she went stark raving crazy out in front of their house as the EMTs were taking him to get medical care. And she threw hamburger meat at the medics as they were taking him away. She would take him out of the care facility that he was in, and he was doing well. She took him halfway across the country and then halfway across the world, where he would later die from his illness. And he had Lewy body dementia. So, yeah. Stories like this just really piss me off. Here's the story from USA Today. It'll be in the sidebar, just easier. But to hear that Wendy Williams has frontal temporal dementia, I should be sad, but I'm not. I'm sad for her family. That's it. I'm sad for her family, but that's it. But the secrecy of where she is and why her family cannot come to see her. Because frontal temporal dementia does not discriminate. Dementia, Alzheimer's, none of that. It doesn't discriminate. Things like that killed Glenn Campbell, and it's affecting other people all around this globe, and it's going to get worse. They say in a number of years that most people will probably be in care homes due to dementia and Alzheimer's disease. And it hurts. But like I said, I would rather grieve more for Bruce Willis than I would Wendy Williams. Because Wendy Williams, she may have had a hit talk show, but her trash talk of other celebrities, when it wasn't warranted, should not be allowed to stand. And I think back to the time when she fainted on screen. She was doing a Halloween show. She was dressed up as Lady Liberty, and she had flubbed some words, stumbled back, and then passed out cold. That should be, that I think that was the start of something very troubling. It wasn't just Graves' disease. It's just very, very scary and very, very sad. Bruce Willis brought frontal temporal dementia to the forefront. Just like Robin Williams, Robin's Wish came out and brought frontal, dementia that he had to the forefront, where he would have trembling in his hand. He had all these things going on. He didn't realize what was happening to him. But his wife was a dogged, determined fighter to find out what it was, and they found out that it was dementia. But the doctors that were treating Robin Williams then practically didn't even bother to test him for dementia. And they said no, no, and no to all his concerning questions. You don't have this, you don't have this, and you don't have this. But yet he still wound up having dementia and tremors, Parkinsonian type symptoms, and he was misdiagnosed. But hearing about Wendy Williams, it just shows you life is too short to be cutting down other people. Don't cut down other people if you don't handle your own shit. And I'm sorry. I feel sorry for Wendy's family, but that's it. There's a lot of things that are suspect in this current situation with Wendy. How could she call her family but not have her family call them? So, yeah. They say, why don't you come down and visit with her? That would probably do her morale some good. But it's like Casey Kasem all over again. There's a lot of shady people that are dealing with Wendy right now. Who's to say that they didn't pick the people that were taking care of her? Who's to say we need to keep her family away? We don't want them to know what's really going down. But I feel sorry for her family, and that's it. And like I said, I'm not a fan of Bruce Willis either. But I would rather grieve over Bruce Willis than I would Wendy Williams. What good has she ever done about giving back to people? Instead, she spent her time slamming other celebrities for their problems when she couldn't even handle her own. They should teach Wendy that, karma's a big bitch. When it comes around, it's going to hit you. There's times when I don't want to be nice to people. There's times when I don't even want to leave my house of how people really are these days. People killing each other over nothing. And that's another thing I want to get into here. I'm sure you heard about the 2 police officers and a medic. There was actually 3 officers and I think a medic that was murdered over the past week. They went to a guy's house up in Wisconsin, or up in Minnesota, excuse me. The emergency services went up to a house in Minnesota, and they tried to talk this guy out, and he opened fire on the police. He really opened fire on the cops and killed 2 20-something-year-olds and a 40-year-old. So, yeah. And they tried to take the perp down. The police shot him in the leg, and then the coward put the gun to his head and pulled the trigger. And I'm not going to give the shooter's name. He doesn't deserve it. My thoughts go with the 7 kids that he had in the house when this all went down. This happened at 2 a.m. in the morning. And, they had like the SWAT truck come out. And this person that did this knew exactly what he was doing. He had high powered weapons and he wanted to hurt or harm many people as he could. Well, he did. He killed two police officers. I think they were like 27. And the other guy that was, I think, he was 40. So one of them was like a SWAT paramedic, and two were police officers. And the paramedic was shot while trying to give aid to an injured officer. So, yeah, very, very sad. My thoughts go out to the family and friends of the fallen heroes. Those are what EMTs, police officers, and anybody in SWAT deal with every day. They leave for work in the morning, hoping that they'll come home at night. But there comes that call that a family gets that they don't want to have. But, my thoughts go out to those who lost their family members. Let's see. I'll pull that up now. Let's see. Dead in Minnesota. Okay. Let me see what I can pull up here. But I'm not going to give the guy's name, okay? It says a community is in mourning on Monday, a day after two police officers and a firefighter were fatally shot in Burnsville, Minnesota, while responding to a domestic incident. Officers identified the man, Paul Armstrong and Matthew Rouge, both 27, and a 40-year-old firefighter, Adam Finseth. Again, Paul Armstrong and Matthew Rouge, who were both 27, and a 40-year-old Adam Finseth were murdered by this punk. And it's really sad. And it says that this person that did the shooting has a felony on his record. And he wasn't allowed to own any weapons whatsoever. And see the story, which I'm going to link to you now if it'll fit. Let's see. Stream. Okay. Here's another one here for you. Hopefully it'll fit. Yep. Okay. Now we're going to go back to that. Two police officers and one firefighter killed responding to a domestic incident outside of Minneapolis, governor says. And you'll see a video that's connected to that. And it says two police officers and a firefighter were fatally shot and another officer was injured after responding to a domestic incident in early Sunday in Burnsville, Minnesota, according to local authorities. The incident started around 1:50 a.m. Central Time while Burnsville police were called to a home where a man was reported to be armed and barricaded inside with family members, city officials said in a news release. After arriving, the situation erupted into gunfire with responders, the city said in the release. 3 men were fatally shot while another officer, Sergeant Adam Mondicott, was injured and was taken to a hospital. He's believed to have suffered non-life-threatening injuries. So a cop did survive this. So there was there was another person there at the scene, but This other officer survived his injuries. Sergeant Adam Medicott, was injured and taken to a hospital, believed to have suffered non-life-threatening injuries, the city said. Burnsville police officials identified the three victims Sunday afternoon as officers Paul Olmsted. Of course, they pop up an ad, but it says they identified the officers. Let's try this again. Let's see. Adam Mindicott was injured and taken to a hospital. The three who died are Paul Olmstrand, Matthew Rouge, both 27, and firefighter/paramedic Adam Finseth, who is 40. The suspect, who was not identified at the time, was also killed, according to the news release. The other family members that were able to leave the home and are safe, the officials said. The total of 7 kids, aging between the ages of the children are between the ages of 2 and 15, were in the home. The superintendent drew evidence of the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension said during a news conference on Sunday. He said the 911 call came from the home. So someone from the home called emergency services. The unidentified man at the time had several guns and a large amount of ammo when he shot at cops from multiple positions in the home. Evans said multiple firearms were recovered from the residence, he said. And they have body cam footage of this, so hopefully they'll be able to release it to the public because we need to see that. Body camera footage from the officers will be reviewed and the medical examiner will identify the suspect, Evans said. The autopsies are scheduled for Monday. So this was printed February 18th, so yeah. So I think they already had the autopsies because I think by Wednesday of this week, the funerals for the fallen public servants will be happening. I don't know if they'll stream the funerals, but I'll be sure to save it in my playlist. Okay. It goes on to say here, the city said although there is no active threat in the areas, residents are asked to stay away from the incident while it's being investigated. Minnesota mourns with you, the Minnesota governor said during the news conference. His name is Tim Walz. Walz expressed his support for the families of the victims in a post online. He says, and I will quote, "We must never take for granted the bravery and sacrifices of our police officers and first responders make each and every day. My heart is with the families today, and the entire state of Minnesota stands with Burnsville," Walz said. The governor added that flags would be flown at half staff across Minnesota on Monday, and the State Department of Public Safety is coordinating with local law enforcement to conduct an investigation. Agents with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives responded to the scene after reports of local police officers involved in a domestic-related shooting, the agency said earlier. Burnsville is approximately 15 miles south of Minneapolis. An official with the labor union representing the Minnesota law enforcement and first responders also expressed his support for the families of the victims. Again, our thoughts and prayers with the family of the officers and the first responder who responded to a domestic call that morning. Jim Mortensen, executive director of the Law Enforcement Labor Services Union, told CNN. Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar and her husband are praying for the officers, she said in a statement. They were doing their jobs. They were protecting our community. John and I are praying for them and their families and the Burnsville PD this morning, Klobuchar said. Elmstrand joined the police department in 2017 as a community service officer and was promoted to officer in 2019, officials said. He was promoted to officer in July of 2019. He was part of the department's mobile command staff, peer team, honor guard, and field training unit. The city detailed the release. Rouge joined the agency in 2020. He was part of the department's crisis negotiations team and was also a physical evidence officer, he said. Finseth had been a firefighter / paramedic for the city since 2019. And at that time, it was a developing story and it would be updated. So, yeah, I'm here to let you know that the funerals will be on Wednesday. They'll probably be streamed on YouTube. So, if I find anything out about that, look for it in the playlist. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to give the shooter the props that he wanted. You know, he had a felony on his record. And people who have felonies on their record don't have any rights to any weapons at all, period. I mean, it just sucks. I mean, it really does. Because, you know, it's punishing those who are good citizens who carry guns. So, yeah, let's go ahead and do this. You know, it's just beyond sad. My heart goes out to the police officers that were tragically murdered. But the thing I want to talk about here real quick is that even though they know who the shooter is by now, they know the funerals for the lost will be held on Wednesday. They need to find out where that perp got all his weapons, who got him the bullets, who got him all that crap. Because if you've seen the footage, this guy knew what he was doing. And somebody had shared a video of this turkey practicing in his garage with one of those high-powered weapons. And he was pointing the weapon at somebody who was filming the video with him and his loudmouth buddy. And I think the perp said, well, this person's expendable. You know, if they're saying stuff like that, you know, I call him a natural born killer. He was just waiting for a chance to kill somebody. All because he got a stupid felony on his record back in 2008. You know, if they don't want you to have weapons, they don't want you to have weapons, period. You know, it doesn't matter how old you are. This guy was in his mid 30s. That's all I will say about it. You know, there's a reason why they don't want you to have weapons. And I think the officials who denied him the right to get his weapons back made the right call. He should not have had weapons, but again, he was still able to get a hold of them and a whole crap load of weaponry. It's just crazy. Maybe he got ghost guns. I don't know. They need to check his digital footprint. They need to question everybody that he knows. They need to go up the ante with these idiots. Because if they're caught giving weapons to this perp, they should be arrested. Because they aided and abetted a known killer. Because now this person is a known killer. Shouldn't have happened, but it did. He put 7 kids in danger. Think about that. The kids were between the ages of 2 and 15. That's a bunch of shit right there. No doubt the kids are going to need therapy. The 2-year-old might not remember any of it, but as to the older, they should get therapy. And I wonder why mom never had custody of the children in the first place. What was her deal? She had to have known something was not right with him. You know, It shouldn't have happened, but it did. But people who are in law enforcement, firefighting, SWAT, even our armed forces, they face shit like this every day. They do it without hesitation. They know what the risks are. Some get to go home to their families at night, while some don't. Some never get to go home again. So, as I end this segue, I want people to realize, don't ever take a day for granted, because you never know when something or someone is going to punch your time clock. My thoughts go out to the police officers, their families, and the community as a whole. And do we ever really know our neighbors? I mean, who knows what was going through this dickhead's mind, He probably saw injustices everywhere. He was probably like Vester Flanagan or some of these other shooters. Oh, I can't have weapons. I'm gonna get some hot ones off the street and cause a whole lot of trouble. Well, he probably saved a lot of people a lot of tax money. The cops shot him in the leg, but the perp turned the gun on himself and saved us a whole lot of taxpayer money. Good riddance to bad juju. Because the world don't need scumbag like him. So, hope he's in hell today. So, that's all I have to say. And to the families, I'm sorry for your loss. I wish there was something more that could be done. But knowing our elected officials, they won't do a freaking thing. They need to go after the NRA. They need to go after anybody who gave them those weapons. I don't care if they're ghost gun parts. They need to start regulating ghost gun parts. And if you're caught giving weapons to said person, you should go to jail. You should go to jail. You should lose your right to weapons. That should be considered a Class A felony. Not gonna lie. Should be considered a Class A freaking felony. If you're helping get this person weapons. And the guy I follow, Bruce Rivers, if they're doing videos like where they're doing target practice in the garage, knowingly using ill-gotten weapons to do their training with. Somebody shared a video of this perp that did the shooting, where he was practicing in the garage. Again, he said he was pointing the gun at other people, and he said, well, this person's expendable. And him and his loudmouth buddy were jabbering on, and it was crazy. But if I find anybody I knew had supplied weapons to anybody that committed a murder, they should be up under a jail. Even though the shooter is dead, the person that gave him the weapons should face some jail time. 30 to 50 years. Give him a severe punishment. And people like this perp that did the shooting up in Minnesota are hurting legal gun owners. Again, they're hurting legal gun owners that are responsible. They have gun safes, either in their house or in their car. They're hurting responsible gun owners. And I will say this again. You don't need a freaking AR-15 on our streets. Those are weapons designed for war. The only people who should have those are Army and maybe members of the police. Like SWAT. It's just sad. Well, I was going to talk about my new record player, but right now I'm not in the mood to talk about it. But I want to send my condolences to those who lost their lives in Minnesota. So, yeah. If there's any streaming of the service that is going to happen, check the playlist for the two, the officers and the paramedic that were killed. I do have a playlist set up for that. Again, my thoughts go out to those in the area that were affected by this. And I think our elected officials really need to buckle down and put an end to things like this. But they won't. Those who won't will get voted out. That is how I feel. So, yeah. I mean, I'm getting to the point where I'm going to be 53 here in less than 2 months. I'm getting to the point where I'm saying I'm too old for this shit. I'm tired of seeing people kill each other. But again, our elected officials won't do jack, and we're left holding the bag as always. But I will say this. My thoughts go out to the families. You deserve to have answers, and whoever got them the weapons should be up under a prison. Well, gang, I'm going to get off for now, but I want to put a closure ending with Wendy Williams now. Although she has frontal temporal dementia, I don't feel sorry for her. I feel sorry for her family because, like I said, there's a lot of suspect going on with her caregivers. There's a lot of sus going on with the caregivers, where she is, why her family cannot call her or even come to see her. Because frontal temporal dementia does not discriminate. Dementia and Alzheimer's can hit anybody at any time. And we saw it with Robin Williams. We're seeing it with Bruce Willis. And now we're seeing it with Wendy Williams. But as I said, Wendy Williams was always a trash talker. She'd have like this little segment where she would double down on her venomous talk about certain celebrities. Sometimes some of her remarks called for it, like R. Kelly and what's his face, Keanu. Yeah. But I feel sorry for her family because they're seeing the after effects of what dementia is doing to her. That's all I feel sorry for is her family, not necessarily for Wendy. Because if you treat people like crap on the way up, they're not going to be nice to you on the way down. That's just the way it is. Look what happened to Ellen. She had this personification of love one another, and yet behind the scenes she was a real tyrant and a real bitch. And her actions, especially when she's sitting in her $1 million mansion as people are dying from this coronavirus. She's sitting in her mansion complaining. Yet family members can't get in to see family members that are dying from this coronavirus. Please. People who delight in lying to people and treating people like crap, you're not going to get respect on the way out. No, I'm sorry. I'm not going to grieve for them. I can't. I've stopped caring about train wrecks a long time ago. And the shooter up in Minnesota, he doesn't deserve that. He doesn't deserve any fame. Wendy is now dealing with her own shit. She'll have to deal with it. She cannot hide from it anymore. And I believe from the time she faded on that stage, that was the beginning of her frontal temporal dementia. Let me know what you think. I'm going to get off and try and get some lunch in me about 11 o'clock. And I will talk at you soon. And I want to thank everybody who has joined this channel. You are what makes this channel possible. You might not like what I have to say sometimes, but I speak from how I feel. And sometimes you cannot support a train wreck. I didn't when David Cassidy died. I certainly didn't when the moron up in Minnesota shot people and killed them. And I certainly have zero sympathy for Wendy, but I have tons of sympathy for her family because they're isolated from her. And there's a lot of shady shit going on. Go through and look at any article that you could find. And if I were you, I would not watch that documentary because it seems exploitative. The woman is in her weakest moment. She looked like a deer in the headlights. They have, she has like some type of eye disease where it makes it look like she has owl eyes. And they're showing her at a weakest moment. But her PR is saying she's making all the decisions. But really, is she? Are you kidding me? It's kind of like the guy who was on Judge Alex through video, claiming to be in need of, he was an old guy, he was having memory problems. And the person who was filming him said, no, you got to save this. You got to say this. You got to say that. And Judge Alex saw through these women that were taking advantage of this old fella. And he says, I would have sided with you if not for the fact that you didn't erase your dry runs on video. Your bloopers caught you, is what he said. If I ever find that case, I'll be sure to post it on this channel. I wish I knew what episode it was, but I will be sure to find it. But anybody who uses and abuses the system, like the one moron that shot up some police officers and a paramedic / firefighter, they don't deserve the attention. But my thoughts go out to Wendy's family, and that's it. Not necessarily Wendy, but the rest of her family, because they are being affected. But like I said, trash talkers who use their platform every week to slam down other people, they don't deserve the time of day. Ellen got her humble pie handed to her. Now it's happening to Wendy. Maybe it would make her think things a little bit clearer while she's still got the mind to do so. So, yeah. Again, don't take a day for granted, because you never know when someone or something is going to dim your light sooner than you think. Well, I know this stream isn't very good. I'm having camera problems again, but what I talked about is what it is, and you got my take on it. Now let's hear yours. And to the new subscribers, thank you for coming aboard. You're going to be seeing a lot more video, as in video documentary style type video where I talk, over footage. So, yeah. Be on the lookout for some new videos in the future, and hopefully we can get some conversations going here. And I want to ask you this one question before signing off. Do you think that people knowingly giving weapons to perps, if they find out who gave them the weapons, should the person who aided and abetted a known felon to have time in jail? If the shooter winds up dead, should the person who supplied them the weapons go to prison? Well, I think you already know my answer, so I want to hear yours. Have a good afternoon, everybody, and I'll talk to you again real soon. Bye.